You know how some nights just seem to stretch on forever? You're lying there in bed, the house is quiet, and your mind's still ticking like it's rush hour. So, like most of us, you reach for your phone. Maybe you check Facebook to see what the grandkids are up to, read a few articles, or just scroll through the news. Before you know it, an hour's passed, and you're still wide awake. It seems harmless enough, right? But what if I told you that little nighttime habit could actually be nudging up your risk of stroke? I know, it sounds dramatic, but the truth is, science is starting to show that how we use our screens at night can quietly mess with our body in ways we don't always notice, especially as we get older and our sleep patterns start shifting on their own. Today, we're going to talk about what's really going on when you spend time with a screen before bed, what it does to your sleep, your blood pressure, and how all of that connects to your heart and brain health. But don't worry, this isn't about scaring you. It's about giving you one small but powerful step that could make your nights more restful and your mornings more peaceful. And hey, if you find this video helpful or eye-opening, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, Vibrant Elders, and maybe left a comment below. I love hearing how these tips land with you. So, let's get into it. What exactly is this bedtime habit we're talking about? And why is it quietly causing such trouble? Most of us don't even think twice about it. We finish brushing our teeth, slip under the covers, turn out the lights, and there it is. That familiar glow from the screen. It might be your phone, your tablet, maybe even your TV. You're not trying to stay up late, of course. You're just checking one thing. Maybe your daughter sent a message, or there's a cute video of your grandson on Facebook. You're curious how the election's shaping up, or what the weather's doing tomorrow. Before you know it, you're deep into a rabbit hole of videos, articles, or old memories. Sound familiar? This habit has become so common that we hardly even notice we're doing it. It's like second nature now, especially for those of us who didn't grow up with all this tech but have grown into it. The convenience is incredible. You've got the whole world in your hand, right there in bed. But here's the thing. When your head hits the pillow, that should be your signal to wind down, not rev up. What we're talking about today is that seemingly harmless act of scrolling, watching, or reading from a screen right before bed. It might be 5 minutes, it might be an hour, but when it becomes part of your nightly routine, that's when it starts to matter more than you'd think. Now, I'm not saying your phone or tablet is the villain here. After all, they help us stay connected, especially if you're living alone or your family's far away. But it's the timing and the environment that change everything. Your body's ready to rest, and instead, we're flooding our eyes with light, our minds with information, and our hearts with emotion. It might be political drama, a tragic news story, or just a flood of updates that keeps your brain churning. You may think, well, it helps me unwind. It distracts me, and that's completely understandable. Sometimes distraction feels like relief, but distraction isn't the same as relaxation. True rest comes when we gently let go of the day, not chase one more notification. I've heard folks say, but I don't feel any different. And sure, you might fall asleep just fine. But over time, it's what's happening under the surface, in your blood pressure, in your brain activity, in the quality of your sleep, that starts to change. And that's what this video is here to unpack. So let's take a step back. Think about your own evening routine. Is the last thing you see at night a screen? Is your mind buzzing when your head hits the pillow? If so, you're not alone. But there's something important you should know about what that does to your body, especially as you age. Let's break down exactly why this habit, this seemingly quiet, relaxing bedtime routine, may actually be working against your health in ways that are easy to miss until it's too late. Let's talk about what's really going on when we use screens at night. I don't mean just what we see or hear. I mean what's happening inside our bodies while we scroll, swipe, or stream. Your body runs on rhythms. Just like the sun rises and sets, your body has its own natural clock. It's called your circadian rhythm, and it helps regulate when you feel sleepy and when you feel alert. Now here's where it gets interesting. Light plays a huge role in setting that internal clock. Specifically, the blue light that comes from phones, tablets, and TVs. That blue light is strong. It mimics sunlight, and your brain takes it as a signal to stay awake. So even if it's 10:30 at night and your eyes feel tired, that phone screen is sending a message to your brain. Wake up. Daytime's not over yet. That confuses your brain. It delays the release of melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. Without melatonin kicking in, You lie in bed longer, you toss and turn more, and even if you do fall asleep, it's often lighter, more restless sleep. And here's the kicker. Poor sleep doesn't just leave you groggy. It does a number on your blood vessels. When your body doesn't get proper rest, your blood pressure tends to stay elevated through the night. Normally, blood pressure dips while you sleep. That's part of your body's natural recovery process. But if you're staring at screens before bed and not sleeping deeply, that dip may not happen. Over time, that adds up. Now this is where the stroke risk comes in. High blood pressure, especially at night, is one of the strongest risk factors for stroke in older adults. The American Heart Association has noted that nighttime hypertension often flies under the radar because most folks aren't checking their pressure while they sleep. But studies have shown it's linked to higher chances of stroke, even more than daytime blood pressure in some cases. Think about that for a second. You might go to bed thinking you're resting, but if your body's stuck in a stress mode, tight blood vessels, shallow sleep, elevated pressure, that rest might actually be doing more harm than good. All because of that habit we thought was harmless. There's also another layer here. When we use our phones at night, we're not just dealing with light, we're dealing with stimulation. The kind of information we're taking in can also trigger stress. News updates, emotional videos, worrying texts, it all keeps our nervous system on alert. And a stressed out nervous system doesn't go quietly into a peaceful sleep. So while it may seem like a small thing, 10, 20, 30 minutes with your phone in bed, it can ripple through your night and quietly build risk over time. Not just for poor sleep, but for the health of your heart and brain. Now that we've unpacked the science a bit, let's bring it closer to home. I want to share a story that might remind you of someone you know, or maybe even yourself. I want to tell you about someone very dear to me, my neighbor Joanne. She's 72, sharp as a tack, always with a smile and a pot of coffee ready when you visit. Joanne lives alone, ever since her husband passed a few years back, and like many of us, she's grown quite fond of her iPad. It's how she stays in touch with her daughter in Arizona, how she checks the news, and where she scrolls through old photos when she's feeling a little nostalgic. Every night, after she's done washing up and settling into bed, Joanne props up that iPad and checks in with the world. Sometimes it's 20 minutes. Sometimes it's closer to an hour. It helps me wind down, she told me. It's my little routine. But last winter, something happened that none of us expected. Joanne had what doctors called a transient ischemic attack, a TIA. You might know it as a mini stroke. She said it started around 3 a.m. She woke up feeling off. Her hand felt numb. Her speech was a little slurred. Thankfully, she called 911 quickly, and they got her to the hospital in time. After all the tests, the doctors told her something she didn't expect to hear. Her blood pressure was spiking at night. Not during the day. She was fine when they checked her at the clinic. But at night, especially after long evenings with the screen, her body wasn't settling. It wasn't dipping into restful mode like it should. That consistent pattern of late-night stimulation, paired with age-related changes in her sleep cycle, was quietly nudging her into dangerous territory. She told me later, "I never thought a little screen time could have anything to do with my heart or brain. I thought it was just keeping me company." And that's the part that sticks with me. Because Joanne isn't alone. So many of us find comfort in our devices. They help pass the time, fill the silence, make us feel connected. But they can also lull us into habits that chip away at our health so slowly we don't even notice, until something serious snaps us awake. Since that scare, Joanne's made a few changes. She still uses her iPad, but she sets it down by 9 p.m. and keeps it outside her bedroom. She bought herself a little radio and now falls asleep listening to gentle music instead of reading stressful headlines. And you know what? She sleeps better. She wakes up more refreshed. And her blood pressure? It started dipping again like it's supposed to. Stories like Joanne's aren't rare. They're reminders that our habits, especially the ones we do when we think no harm's being done, can matter more than we realize. And the good news is, just like Joanne, we can change those habits. Even small shifts in our routine can lead to real, powerful improvements in our health. It's something none of us ever want to think about, but knowing what a stroke looks like, especially if it happens during sleep, can be the very thing that saves your life or someone else's. Because here's the tricky part. Strokes don't always announce themselves with a bang. Sometimes, they whisper in while we're asleep, and if we don't know what to look for, we might brush it off as a dream, a bad night, or just getting older. That's why I always say, It's not about living in fear. It's about being prepared and knowing your body well enough to say, something's not right here. One of the most helpful tools doctors use is something simple and easy to remember: FAST. It stands for face, arms, speech, and time. Let me walk you through it like I'd tell a friend. If you're talking to someone, or even looking in the mirror, and you notice your face looks a little uneven, like one side is drooping or your smile isn't quite symmetrical, that's a sign. If you try to lift both arms, and one of them feels weak, heavy, or just won't go up like the other, pay attention. Speech is another big one. If your words come out slurred, or you're having trouble finding the right words even though you know what you want to say, that's a red flag. And the T in FAST stands for time, as in, don't wait. Call 911. Because when it comes to stroke, every minute counts. The faster you get help, the more of your brain can be saved. Now, here's the extra twist for us older folks. Strokes can also happen in the middle of the night. And that's when things get complicated. Maybe you wake up feeling fuzzy, one side of your body tingling or numb, but you think it's just a pinched nerve, or maybe you slept funny. You might wait and see if it goes away. But waiting is the very thing that can make things worse. If you ever wake up with symptoms that feel unusual, trouble standing, blurry vision, dizziness, or confusion, don't roll over and try to sleep it off. Get up, check your smile in the mirror, raise your arms, say a few sentences out loud. If something doesn't feel right, it's better to make that call and be safe than to wait and risk damage. I know some folks worry about bothering the paramedics, or they don't want to make a fuss. But I promise you this, they would much rather come out and tell you you're okay than show up later when things have gotten worse. You're not being dramatic, you're being wise. So if you remember nothing else, remember FAST. It's simple, it's powerful, and it might just be the thing that makes all the difference, especially when stroke symptoms creep in during the quiet hours. Alright, so now we know that late night screen time isn't just a harmless little ritual. It's something that could be messing with our sleep, our blood pressure, and even raising the risk of a stroke. But here's the good news. This is one habit that can be changed, and you don't have to give up your phone, tablet, or favorite shows to do it. It's not about cutting things out completely. It's about creating a bedtime routine that works with your body, not against it. One of the easiest changes you can make. Set a wind-down time. Pick a time in the evening, say 9 p.m. or 30 minutes before you plan to sleep, and make that your screen's off time. Just like brushing your teeth or locking the front door, it becomes part of your nightly rhythm. Instead of scrolling under the covers, you can put the phone in another room or plug it in on the dresser where you can't reach it as easily. If you still want a little something to help you unwind, swap the screen for something that doesn't light up your brain quite so much. A paperback book, a magazine, a crossword puzzle, maybe even a little light stretching or listening to calming music on the radio. Something soothing that eases your mind into rest instead of ramping it up. If you do need to use your phone at night, for example, checking in with family or setting an alarm, try turning on night mode or a blue light filter. Most smartphones have a setting that shifts the screen colors to warmer tones after sunset. It won't eliminate all the stimulation, but it can help your brain start winding down more naturally. And here's another trick I love. Replace the habit with something comforting. When you feel the urge to reach for your phone in bed, ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? Is it comfort? Distraction? Connection? Then give yourself that in a healthier form. Maybe it's calling a friend earlier in the evening, writing in a journal, or just sitting quietly and remembering one good thing from the day. Change doesn't have to be drastic to be effective. In fact, small shifts tend to stick better. If going cold turkey on screen time feels too hard, try reducing it gradually. Cut it down by 10 minutes each night until you find a sweet spot that lets you rest easier. And don't beat yourself up if you slip. This isn't about perfection. It's about giving your brain and your body a chance to recover, to relax, and to do what they're meant to do: heal and restore while you sleep. You're not giving something up, you're gaining better nights, clearer mornings, and a little more peace of mind. That's something worth reaching for, don't you think? Now here's the part one really love sharing. Because once you start shifting away from those nighttime screen habits, it's not just about lowering your stroke risk. That's important, yes. But the real beauty is in what you gain when you give your body the rest it's been quietly craving. First off, there's the sleep itself. The kind of sleep that doesn't just knock you out, but actually restores you. When you let your body settle naturally, Without all the stimulation from bright screens and constant notifications, something amazing happens. You fall asleep faster. You stay asleep longer. And best of all, you wake up feeling refreshed, not foggy, not dragging, but clear. That mental clarity can make your whole day feel lighter. It becomes easier to remember appointments, to enjoy conversations, to focus on whatever little tasks are on your plate that day. Better sleep also works wonders on your mood. You ever notice how much more patient and optimistic you feel after a solid night's rest? It's like everything feels a bit more manageable. That's not just in your head. Well, actually, it is in your head, but in a good way. Restorative sleep helps balance your brain's chemicals, reducing anxiety and keeping depressive thoughts at bay. So instead of waking up tense or overwhelmed, you start your day with a calmer heart and a clearer mind. And there's more physical benefits, too. Your immune system gets a boost. Your digestion works more smoothly. Even your skin starts to look a little healthier when you're consistently well-rested. These little things add up to a much bigger feeling, vitality. That's what this is really about. You're not just avoiding illness, you're building energy. And in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, that energy is priceless. It means you're more likely to say yes to a walk around the block, to lunch with friends, to trying that new hobby you've been thinking about. You're more present, more connected, more you. I've had people tell me, I didn't realize how much those late-night habits were weighing me down until I stopped. It's a quiet kind of exhaustion, the kind we get used to. But when you let it go, even just a few nights a week, you start to feel like yourself again. Like you've taken a deep breath you didn't know you were holding. And maybe the best part? You start feeling more in control. Like your evening belongs to you, not your device. That sense of control, that peace of mind, it carries into everything. It's not about fear, it's about freedom. So yes, changing a habit takes effort. But what you get in return, restful nights, peaceful mornings, and the energy to enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build. That's a pretty good trade, wouldn't you say? So let's take a moment to bring this all home. That simple nighttime habit, reaching for your phone or tablet right before bed, might seem innocent, maybe even comforting. But now we know it can quietly disrupt your sleep, keep your blood pressure elevated, and over time, raise your risk of something as serious as a stroke. And that's not something any of us want creeping into our lives without warning. But here's the thing, knowledge is power, and now you've got the power to do something about it. Think back to what we've talked about. How blue light tricks the brain into staying awake. How poor sleep affects your heart and your blood vessels. How nighttime blood pressure that doesn't dip like it should can be a silent danger, especially as we age. And how those late-night scrolls, though they seem harmless, might actually be keeping your body stuck in a state of alertness long after the world's gone quiet. We also looked at what the signs of a stroke look like: fast, face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, and time to call 911. Because knowing those signs, especially when you wake up feeling off, could be the difference between a scare and a crisis. But this isn't just a warning. It's an invitation to shift something small that could make a big impact. Start with one simple change. Maybe tonight, instead of reaching for your phone, you set it aside a little earlier. Maybe you try reading something soothing, listening to quiet music, or just taking a few deep breaths while you get cozy under the covers. Try it for a few nights. See how you feel. That's all. And if it makes a difference, even a small one, keep going. Your brain, your body, and your future self will thank you for it. I'd love to hear from you. What's your nighttime routine like? Have you noticed how your sleep feels after using your phone before bed? If you're trying out a new habit after watching this, let me know in the comments. Your story might just inspire someone else. If this video gave you something to think about, if it sparked even one little aha moment, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We're building a space here at Vibrant Elders, where folks like you can come for gentle, practical wisdom to help live well at every age. And if there's someone you care about who scrolls a little too long at night, go ahead and share this with them, too. Small changes, big differences. You deserve restful nights, strong mornings, and the kind of peace that only comes when you know you're caring for yourself in all the quiet, powerful ways.